What's up guys? I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my channel. So, I have some really exciting updates for you guys. About a month ago, I did an air layering experiment where it was really my second time ever air layering anything. If you saw that last video, you know that I lost the footage from the first time I did it. So this was kind of like my redo. So I redid a air layering video on my Philodendron Birkin, and it honestly came out so good. I'm so excited to show you guys like what happened in that entire month, and basically like how much root growth and root action did I actually get. I also throughout I was on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you can go ahead and follow me if you'd like. If you're active on Instagram, I'd love to see you guys there too. But I have been kind of like showing on my stories like here and there about like my air layering kind of progress, but I also save those videos, so periodically I'll have them on the side so you guys will be able to kind of see that as well. So just to spare you guys the like painful like process of me taking all the saran wrap off, I wound up taking it off ahead of time just because it was just such a hassle and just a struggle. Honestly, I wrapped it so crazy, and I also wound up wrapping it even more like after kind of peeking on it and checking on it. Whenever you do like air layering, you'll want to kind of like make sure that you kind of check back in like a week or two just to make sure that the roots are growing really well, and also just to kind of make sure that the moss is still moist, because if the moss starts to dry out, then it's really going to just dry out those roots. And I've had it happen before where any of like my moss propagations, once the moss kind of dries out, the roots will start to dry out, and then you kind of, you know, depending on how far it's gone, you may have lost that cutting. Also, just want to make sure that you check on the roots, check on the moss, make sure that everything is going good, and then just tightly wrap that again. But you don't want to do it too often. That's kind of the benefit if you wrap it kind of like a little bit not as crazy as I did, then you can kind of start to see like roots popping through. So I checked on it twice in the month, and I noticed two things happening at two different times. The first time I checked it was about a week after, and I noticed that there was a lot of mold. Now that is common. It wasn't super bad. All I did was I took some ground cinnamon that I have in my cabinet, and I just sprinkled it on the moss and just kind of really saturated the kind of areas that were starting to mold. I did notice that right before I did my air layering video, I did cut off one of the leaves, and I think it just didn't callus over, so it started growing mold spores on there. But the next time that I checked it, the mold was gone, and it smelled like cinnamon, so it was kind of pleasant. And then the second thing that happened was I started to notice around like week 2.5, 3, that it started to form roots on the outside of the air layering like wrap. So what I did was I kind of shifted it upward. That way it kind of formed around those roots that were already starting to grow. So you guys ready to see these roots? Guys, here are these roots. They're like over an inch long. I would say like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So that's actually perfect for repotting. I'm actually hoping that I'm not doing this too early, but I think this will work out really well where I'll be able to get some really good action. Honestly, I've even noticed that my Birkin has, let me put it down. I've also noticed that my Birkin was behaving a little bit better. So the leaf that just unfurled, this white leaf right here. So this white leaf right here, I noticed like came out, kind of hard to tell, it's very white. So this white leaf right here came out, and it wasn't as like wrinkly and kind of like like it kind of wrinkled and rips. So I kind of noticed that like the plant started to get a lot more moisture than it had been in the past. So that was kind of nice because I could kind of, you know, get a little bit of a smoother leaf versus like the crinkly leaves that have been coming out before. I am ready to kind of take all that moss off and we're gonna cut it and I'm gonna repot it. This is also going to be a more of a relaxing kind of repot with me. I know I just did one last video, but this was like one of those opportunities that I just kind of wanted to jump on and like repot this and kind of get it off my to-do list in a sense. It's already ready to go, so there's no point in me just waiting. So I know it's like back-to-back repot with me's, but this one will be a little bit more relaxing. I might stop here and there so you guys, so I can explain something to you or whatever, but what I'll do is I'll take all the moss off of the root ball so you guys can kind of check that out. And then I'm gonna cut it off the stem. And then when I start repotting it, it'll just be kind of like a relax and chill video. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And let me know in the comments if you guys like kind of like a more of a vibey kind of like chill out video versus like me just like blabbing at you the whole time. Sometimes I find them kind of boring, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, this is what I needed. Like I need like a relaxing video. So again, let me know in the comments what you guys like about that. But let's get started on removing the moss from this moss ball because I'm just so excited and I'm so anxious to see what this actually looks like. So let's do it. It's kind of like a rotted piece that I was telling you about. So that was... Here are all of those roots that came from that air layering ball that I had. And it's okay if you don't remove all the moss. You can plant it with the moss in there. That's totally fine. You don't need to worry about that. But I'm like so excited. Oh my gosh. So, and you can also, I've noticed too, right here are like little leaves that are starting, or I think that might, oh no. Oh, I broke that off. Okay, well, we have this guy right here, and that's a little leaf growing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cut it. Probably I'm gonna cut this like whole hunk off and leave this like ugly brown chunk in there, and hopefully that will promote some new leaf growths. And yeah, so like I said, it's gonna be more of like a relaxed kind of like chill video. So after I cut the stem, we're gonna repot it and yeah, this plant is like so big that I have to like keep moving around. And here's all of the saran wrap that I took off. And I also had like this rubber band that I got from like, I don't know, a spare, I guess, that was like kind of all wrapped around. So yeah, that actually kind of helped kind of hold. Sometimes, I don't know if I like, maybe just because I got like the store brand saran wrap, but it didn't really hold that well. So like any of the like pieces that were starting to lift up, the rubber band kind of held it down. So that's like kind of like a little trick that I did. So we're gonna just toss this aside. So I have a little bit of extra soil. This is just Fox Farm soil. I didn't do anything with it. It's kind of pretty good as it is for the Birkin. I don't really need to add a lot in there. And plus, I'm not really seeing that I need to probably add more. I might take this whole top layer off and kind of see. I don't know how rooted this Birkin actually is, but I need some room to fit that plant in. So I might have to kind of remove at least half of the soil, and I might just replace half of that soil back just to kind of freshen it up and see. But yeah, so let's cut it. So I'm gonna move, I have my box. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it, but I'm gonna cut it, if you guys can see, this is where I cut it before and it started to grow back. So if you can see, it's kind of hard to tell. So right here is the main stem, and right here is the offshoot that it kind of came off of. So I'm actually gonna cut it from the offshoot and just, hopefully it will grow another offshoot and I'll have another full Birkin plant. But I'm actually gonna just, I'm so nervous to do this. I'm gonna just cut it with these tiny little scissors. So here we go. Okay, these little shears are not cutting it. I had to grab some bigger scissors, so I'm not hacking away at this poor plant, even though I probably still am. It's attached. Oh, it's attached. There we are. No turning back now. The whole plant is in my hands. God, I'm nervous. All right, so now you guys can probably see this ugly little chunk. That's where it was. And yeah, maybe we'll get some new growth from it. Who knows? so that's it. So what I'm gonna do with the old Birkin, this chunk, I realize that it's not going to fit both of them in this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put this in a little nursery pot, and I have a little hiding spot. I don't know why my camera is focusing just on my Birkin. So I'm going to just put this in a nursery pot and put it in a little like area that I keep all my kind of experiments. So it's not just like an ugly stump kind of there, just because like this kind of took up literally the whole pot, and I just wanted enough area and like space for my Birkin to grow. So this will just be a fun experiment. Hopefully eventually someday I'll show you guys this as a full plant, or you'll hear that I threw it out because it did nothing. But I'm sure it will. I mean, it's a pretty decent like chunk. It's got like I said, it's got this little leaf that's kind of growing in. So hopefully this will be a new plant. Who knows? What I didn't tell you is so two things that I did, I actually put some cinnamon on the spot that I broke off, just to make sure that it doesn't mold or it doesn't rot. It will kind of be like an antibacterial. So what it will do is it won't like grow like root rot on there. Just because I didn't give it time to callus over before I planted it. I also dumped a little bit of rooting hormone in the soil and kind of like sprinkled it over the top. The roots were a little bit too big to put into the rooting powder bottle. So I just kind of sprinkled it all over the plant. It will do the same thing. It will get there. I mean, especially since I just watered it, and I'm starting to see like some water draining through, which is a great sign. But yeah, so I have a brand new Philodendron Birkin that is not wobbling in the planter. And then hopefully, like I said, hopefully in a couple of weeks, months, whatever, I'll have another one. And I also made sure that I gave it a good watering. I'm actually starting to water all my plants with fertilizer again. I'm starting to get into the spring mode of my plant care. And I've also noticed that some of my plants are showing like yellowing edging of leaves, which is a sign of a nutrient deficiency. So I need to start fertilizing them. But this, don't come at me. I use Miracle-Gro. It's not organic, but I only choose to put like organic fertilizers on my plants that I don't eat, and I'm not going to eat my Birkin. So I am totally fine with using Miracle-Gro. I know it's kind of like taboo. Everybody wants to use like really like high-end like boutique fertilizer, but I think this stuff honestly works great, and it works good on all of my plants. And I also put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in there because I did notice a little bit of rot on the old root system. Just some of the roots were kind of dead. I don't know if it wasn't rotting currently, but it looked like it had. So I just wanted to kind of get rid of any of that. And also it kind of helps give the new roots some like airflow, oxygen flow in there. And also a little bit of Super Thrive. You guys know I love Super Thrive, and it's great for transplant shock. So that's what I did. That is basically it. So I hope you guys all like this video and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. All right guys, have a great day and stay botanical.